Please get ready for a dictation of transcription number 362 and 363 from Sir Kailash Chandra magazine. 5 seconds. Start. Another equally important thing is about the division of the personnel of the services. In this matter, the States Reorganization Commission recommended that there should be uniform pay scales in all states. For that purpose, they said when the state of Madhya Pradesh or Karnataka was created or formed, there should be uniform pay scales for all these services, be they belong to the old Mysore cadre or to the Bombay cadre or Hyderabad cadre. From the bill, I do not find any such attempt being made. It is true that to raise the scales of pay in Mysore means additional expenditure to be incurred from the state funds. But can we defer or postpone it or avoid it? I think we cannot. It is absolutely necessary to strengthen our administration, and one way of strengthening the administration is to have a uniform scales of pay for all the services from whichever area they might come. Otherwise, what will happen is there will be one scale for the persons who might come from Bombay, another for those coming from Madras, another for those coming from Hyderabad, while those from Mysore will have their own scale of pay. This is bound to create a lot of confusion, and in this context, I am sorry, some political leaders in Mysore made the mistake of making a statement that they did not want the services from other areas, and if they came, they must come at their own risk. I do not know whether that statement was made after consideration. I hope it is not. Had they merely looked into clause 100 of the draft bill, that statement would never have come to be made. You know, under clause 100A of the draft bill, the entire cadre of all previous states and the present Bombay and Madhya Pradesh states stand dissolved, and a new cadre is being formed by the central government. That being so, I do not know how you can say that you are merely allowing somebody else to come. This has created a lot of bitterness, and a number of people have complained about it. The services in other areas are quite shy of coming to the new state, and it will not be in our interest to keep back any services if it is an efficient one. It might be necessary to put in more specific provisions. We are going to have the elections very soon. If we want to successfully manage the elections, we must have an efficient administrative machinery at the secretariat level as well as at the district level, and that would be constituted long before the election takes place. We have hardly a few months before us, and it would be absolutely necessary for the Home Ministry to give its attention to this matter and constitute the new services as early as possible. I hope the Home Ministry would give its best attention to this matter. This would also be necessary in connection with the working out of the second 5-year plan. A disgruntled or disorganized civil service will not assist you in implementing the second plan. I would like to say a few words about the division of assets and liabilities. You remember that in Mr. Vanchu's report, some specific recommendations have been made. Mr. Vanchu recommended, so far as the movable properties are concerned, a certain formula, and that was accepted in the Andhra bill. As regards immovable properties, it laid down that such immovable properties and buildings located in places which are in the districts will not be taken into consideration as they are merely concomitants. But such government buildings which are existing in the headquarters like Madras will be taken into consideration. They will be valued on the basis of the formula that those buildings which have been built prior to 1960 will be valued at double the book value, and those that have been put up after 1960 would be valued according to the book value. This is a very reasonable suggestion. It is on that basis that the buildings in Madras were valued at nearly rupees 7 crores and odd. But Andhra, which was entitled to 36% of the same, was given about rupees 3 crores under Section 9 of the Andhra Act. Unfortunately, when we come to the States Reorganization Bill, none of these provisions are there. There is no provision for assessing the value of the buildings in big cities like Bombay, Madras, Hyderabad, Delhi, and other areas. What is going to happen? Mighty buildings have been put up in those places at the cost of the entire state, and every part of the state contributed for them. Huge engineering colleges for the benefit of the entire state were built up. They are not in a position to make a gift. Another curious thing that happened is that in the Vanchu report, it has been said that they must be valued. Mr. Chairman, the other day when the House adjourned, I was trying to prove that even qualitatively, the progress of the cooperative movement had not been satisfactory. Only primary credit societies have increased in number and size as compared to the other types of societies which actually contribute to the development of agriculture. Even the loan advanced by these primary credit societies is not being utilized for the purpose of development of agriculture, but instead it is being utilized in many cases for paying off the old debts and for their day-to-day expenditure, because many of the peasants are so poor and so indebted that the credit given by these credit societies, which is meant for the development of agriculture, is being utilized for other purposes. Madam, when we take into consideration the total amount of credits given by these credit societies and try to analyze the different strata of people who get the greatest advantage of all these credits, it will be realized that the upper strata of society are getting the greater share of the credits advanced by these societies. Now, when we take into consideration the classification of all these societies, which gives an insight into the development or the improvement of all these societies, it will be realized that only 15% of the total number of societies are classified under A and B class. That means that only 15% of the societies are sound and are able to stand on their own legs without the help of the government or whatever it might be. This has been stated by the Estimates Committee as well. So the remaining 85% of the societies are not functioning satisfactorily at all. 40,000 societies were revitalized in the second plan, and last year over rupees 15,000 societies were said to have been revitalized. So it means that nearly 40,000 societies in the past 5 years were not able to function properly and were about to be liquidated. And so the government and the cooperative movement had to go and help them and revitalize them. But even after spending a lot for the revitalization of the societies, we do not know whether all these societies which were dormant are active again. When we take into consideration 15,000 societies, it will prove that the cooperative societies have not improved their position. Now, madam, this bill intends to set up a corporation in place of the existing board. We are told that this corporation will continue to perform the same function as the old board. We are told that the board has been working very well and has been responsible for the development of the cooperative movement all these years. If that is so, I cannot understand the necessity for setting up a corporation different from the board. If the functioning of the board has been satisfactory, what is the necessity for forming a corporation? What are the other advantages that we are having in forming a corporation? We could gather from the annual report on the corporation issued by the Ministry of Community Development and the speech of the Deputy Minister that the board has been only an advancing agency for the respective states. Of course, they have set up 3 or 4 committees to go into the question of the various aspects of the cooperative movement. I think this job can be done by the ministry itself. Now, coming to the composition of this corporation and of the executive committee as it is envisaged in the bill, it is evident that it is practically riddled with government officials. There is only a sprinkling of non-official representation. I can understand the constitution of the board as it is done by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. We know the views with regard to the democratic decentralization of the Minister of Food and Agriculture. But I cannot understand how the Minister of Community Development, who lays great stress on and gives importance to democratic decentralization, can copy the same old method that was there with regard to the composition of the old board and incorporate it in the new legislation, practically going back on his own recommendations that the cooperative movement must be representative of or carried on by non-official bodies. It is relevant at this point of time to point out that the Prime Minister himself has pointed out that the cooperative movement must be actually carried on by non-official bodies and that official interference must be the least. Stop.